All right. So we are reading about samskaras. So if I have to give a definition for samskara, samskara is emotional memory stored into the consciousness. So it's an emotional memory which became the part of consciousness. So then why it becomes so, important, especially from an heartfulness perspective, to clean these samskaras or impressions. So these impressions are made onto the consciousness, which forms as a layer. So because of this layer, our perception is distorted. So why each individual thinks differently, experiences life differently, and manifests life differently because of these samskaras. If these samskaras are not there, we all would perceive the life almost in a clear, with a lot of clarity, with a lot of awareness. So basically, these samskaras, each one's impressions, are making us different people, right? Because our perception is distorted. And also through consciousness, we manifest our life. We manifest the patterns in our life. So that's why it's very difficult to change our life with having, with the having these samskaras preventing our patterns, our awareness to change. So if we want to bring change in our life, these patterns have to be cleared out. So the deeper impressions, when an impression is formed, let's say I formed an impression today, if I don't clean it, it becomes a tendency, it solidifies. Means it get pushed back into the another layer, keeps forming. So we keep forming these layers and layers of impressions. If one believes in many lives, we have been forming these impressions for many lives. So that's why the cleaning becomes essential in our life. As we clean the samskaras which are formed that day, then they don't get solidified. The idea of daily cleaning is so that we don't solidify these samskaras, impressions. But what do we do about the impressions which are formed over, since our childhood, from our past life and the before that? So there are many solidified impressions at bottom layers which needs to be cleaned. And that is the job of the spiritual teacher, and who has also given the power to the so-called preceptors or trainers. So who can clean these deeper impressions. So that is why it is essential to schedule one-on-one sessions with your trainers so that these deeper impressions are cleaned on a regular basis. And not only that, you will see an enormous difference in your practice while you take regular individual sessions, right? So that's about samskaras. And I also wanted to tell you one more point. I mean, the examples given here in the anatomy book are very simple. How the how we are conditioned by our consciousness. And this is a good example. See, when an elephant, when it is a baby elephant is tied with the big chains to a tree, and it tried to pull itself, and because of the big chain and the tree, it cannot pull itself. After that, it is conditioned, so it knows if a chain is tied to its leg, even if it is tied to a small chair, a plastic chair, it won't run away because it assumes that it cannot free itself. Otherwise, this plastic chair is not any real, what should I say, a stopper for the elephant to move away from that place. But it is conditioned mentally. So this is what here there are a few important points we can read. Modern psychology has deep insights in this regard. Sorry. Research into areas like neuroplasticity, trauma, light bulb memories, and habit formation shows how we store emotional memories within, and they condition our behavior. The much repeated line, neurons that fight together, wire together, conveys the same idea of rainwater deepening in the same channel year after year for the water to flow. So what this is basically indicating is, so I will say, okay, some people who are, let's say, addiction to smoking, and at some point they stop smoking. But let's say they go to a party or a club with their friends and everyone is smoking, and suddenly they pick up the habit again. So when an opportunity presents, the impression dominates us. So these impressions have to be cleaned, not only cleaned, but even after cleaning, just like the riverbed dries in the summer, the moment it starts raining, the water flows in the same riverbed. That means the deeper tendencies already rooted deep inside. So these tendencies are cleaned basically by the teacher, spiritual teacher, when we allow ourselves. So this is where the concept of surrender comes into the picture. Here, surrender is nothing but allowing the teacher to work on ourselves and on us. So surrender is not like, I basically put my life in front of the teacher and say, you do whatever you want to do with it. That's not surrender. Here, the surrender is, suppose, if I go to a doctor and doctor says, I need to get operated because of whatever, the disease or whatever, right? Would I not go and sit on the operation table and allow the doctor to cut open my body? So at that point, I'm surrendering to the doctor, right? The same thing here. When we sit in meditation, we are in a way sort of in a surrender state for the higher to take over and work on us. So that means I am not presenting any resistance from my side so that the deeper cleaning can take place. All these tendencies can be removed. Right? I'll stop here. I mean, if you have any comments, questions, we can discuss. And I wanted to give one more concept. Let me pause the recording for a second. I should have kept it ready. Give me a second, I'm just bringing that book. How many of you have seen the golden liquid cleaning? Anyone remembers the golden liquid cleaning?
Yeah. You imagine it originating at the base of your back, going up your spine,
Yes.
and going through your ribs, down your arms, through your head. And just imagine that it flows before you start doing cleaning.
Yes, that's good. Thank you, Cliff. So that technique basically gave a very good insight into the process of cleaning. So the general idea is this cleaning is a natural formation. Sorry, the samskaras or impressions are naturally formed, and we undergo the experience of life so that these impressions can be cleaned. But what's happening is, even though we are going through the experience of life and cleaning them, we are still forming more and more impressions. So there is no stop for forming these impressions. Correct? So we have to clean them. So if you ask me, cleaning is going against the nature. So in order to go against the nature, it requires a higher power to clean it. Just because I am cleaning, the cleaning is not going to happen. That power is given. So we have this concept of 3 initial sessions in heartfulness. So these 3 initial sessions basically gives us that power. So what is that power? That power is called Kala Shakti. Where is that diagram? Or maybe it's in some other document. That's okay. I can draw it. Let me draw it. We're going to learn, all these points in a very, we're going to get into a lot of details as we do this reading. So let me share my whiteboard. So if you see this is the spinal cord. And this is where what do you call this bone structure here, Dhruvita? What do you call it? Huh?
Tailbone?
Nah.
No. Pelvis?
The bone structure here, what do you pelvis, right? So correct. So it goes into this is pelvis, correct? So there is a point here in that near the pelvis area. If I find the diagram, I'll show it to you clearly, but just understand. This is called point of Kala Shakti. So by discovery of this point, Kala Shakti, which is a power above nature, this Kala Shakti is invoked in a very small proportion so that we can perform the cleaning. So with the golden liquid technique, what we are doing is this power is basically filling the entire system, our entire system, all the bones, structure, skeletal structure, and then do the cleaning so that all impressions are cleaned more effectively. That's the technique of this, using the Kala Shakti, the golden liquid, to spread into our system. But without this Kala Shakti, cleaning is not possible. Even the general cleaning we do, is because of the Kala Shakti. The cleaning is done by the trainers and the master is because of this Kala Shakti. So this is something which is internal to our system, which is being discovered by our teachers, so that the cleaning is possible. Something, a power above the nature, right? So this is the power which is used for cleaning. And all seekers are given this power so that they can do the cleaning for themselves. Okay? So understand this. Anyway, so most people never realize how much their samskaras condition them. Like I said, we are completely, totally conditioned by it. And sometimes, what we think is right and we act and behave in certain way, but the other people can see it. Whether we are, our behavior is not, so congenial, or, the people know the wrong things we are doing, but we ourselves don't know. We assume whatever we are doing is right because these samskaras, impressions, has taken over, and whatever we do appears right even though we are doing it wrong. That's why perceptions, right? Even if you see why people are divided over religion, over political affiliations, or any many other affiliations, all these are impressions are driving them. There's no real logic why one should be inclined to something and not against something. And some people are for it and against the other one. You see, all these things are happening because of our impressions really taken over and guiding our perception. So to bring more clarity in life and for spiritual growth, it is imperative that we clean these impressions. Okay. And, our habits, emotional responses, everything, for something, we are triggered by it. Each one have their own buttons. So I might not, get mad or become emotional about a certain situation. But you will see, in the same siblings, in the same family, who grew up within the same culture, react differently to a different situation. Reason, our samskaras are basically, it is forming habits. It is also the emotional response to the situations is very different because of the perceptions. Right? And it says samskaras are triggered, but samskaras are not triggering. It's basically your awareness, perception is changing according to the situation and reaction to a situation. Right? So now we understand that these samskaras need to be cleaned thoroughly. And in our next session, we talk in detail about these points, A, B, C, D. the feeder factories of samskaras, we'll try to understand how these impressions enter into our state of consciousness through these points, and what we can do to prevent. I mean, there's not a total prevention, but we have to interact with this world. So when we interact with this world, we have to go through all these emotional states. So there is no escape from that. So we do form impressions, but the sooner we clean them, the better we can change our patterns in our life. Okay. And we go through all this suffering in life because of these patterns. So I'll stop here for any questions, comments, so that we can get into meditation.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Even with a trainer or doing the deep cleaning, it would seem like it is an impossible task to clean a lifetime of impressions.
Right. Yes. The reason for that is because so there is an enormous, like I told you, right? It is going against the nature. So there is an enormous power applied. So if we do the lifetime of cleanings in one session, it's going to, in fact, one of the statements by the master is, you are going to become a vegetable. So it requires a very gradual and a slow cleaning process for everyone. Even when the masters themselves have undergone the cleaning to reach that state, but somehow they develop this ability to surrender while this cleaning is happening. And another important thing to note is doing a regular prayer helps to clean these impressions very easily. If someone is practicing the regular prayer, bedtime prayer, as recommended by the heartfulness, it softens all these impressions. So when these impressions are softened, it is easy to clean them. So prayer helps a lot in achieving, major part of the cleaning during one-on-one sessions with the trainer or the master. So I'll say, most of your spiritual life in heartfulness, especially, there's lot of cleaning taking place. So it cannot be done in one go. It can be done, but it is not conducive to the practitioner. So that's why it is done in very small proportions, as much as the seeker is permitting. So how much cleaning takes place depends on our permission to this higher entity to have the deeper cleaning effectively. Even when we are doing the cleaning, we ourselves have to give that permission. So that's why the instruction is very simple. Allow these impressions to be cleaned. That's what the instruction says. Right? So prayer is essential for this deeper cleaning to take place more effectively. One of my friend, I probably shared this story many times. He called me once late in the evening and asked me how many, people who are practicing heartfulness have reached the goal. No, that's not the question. So basically, initially when he wanted to start, he read this booklet. We had this heartfulness booklet where the meditation, cleaning, and prayer is explained. He said, I don't like this part of cleaning and prayer. I just want to do meditation. So I told him, like, would you, put on new clothes every day without taking bath? He said, no. So you have to clean for your meditation to be effective. Then he said, okay, agreed, I will do the cleaning. But what about the prayer? Our religion has given so many prayers. Why can't I do other prayers? And why can't I skip the heartfulness prayer? So I gave him two examples. Suppose you want to play soccer and you want to take a basketball to your soccer game. Can you play soccer? He said, yeah, I can play. But I asked him, have you ever kicked the basketball? It's very hard. You cannot kick the basketball, right? That's why you dribble. And then I told him, why do you apply soap when you're taking bath? He said, to smell good. Yeah, you can just pour water and then apply perfume. You can smell good. But the reason for applying soap is it softens the dust particles attached to the body so that when we pour the water, it cleaned away easily. Similarly, the prayer acts like that soap. It softens these impressions which are hardened, all these past impressions which are hardened, so that it is easy to clean. No effort required. So that's how prayer works. So to me, like I was telling you last time, right? If my order of preference, prayer is my first preference. Never miss the prayer, never miss the cleaning, and meditation, do it when you feel. So always the prayer, and if I do the prayer and cleaning, automatically I meditate every day, several times. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Cliff, for bringing up that question. I'll stop the